hear that? Like the pulse of the street, a hole in the chest. Hear that? Like the pulse of the street, a hole in the chest.
Yo! What's going on, my people? Welcome back to another Radical Latino live stream. Thank you very much for having me here. Shout out to the 16 people watching. Shout out to Johnny Mills. Shout out to Jose. Shout out to Morena. Shout out to J Bones. Shout out to Marquise. Shout out to everybody up in the building right now watching the live stream. Now, let me put a disclaimer out of the way. Oh, shout out to Joe Cash. Shout out to everybody. Let me put a disclaimer out of the way. Actually, I'm going to do something right quick, right? I'm going to have this up the whole time. Do not get triggered by the title. It's facts over feelings. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to have this up the whole time because as a content creator, we all know we have to put incendiary type of titles in order for it to captivate the curiosity of a person to click on the video. Okay, so that's one out the way. That's one disclaimer out the way. Second disclaimer, this live stream was pretty much orchestrated by plenty of things that happened, especially one of the live streams that occurred a couple of days ago. And as we all know, Denisse, as we all know who Denisse is, she brings in a lot of historical viewpoints and historical facts to the point where it might challenge some people's beliefs. And because it might challenge some people's beliefs, those emotional feelings might occur, and that's the reason why I'm putting in, don't get triggered by the title, it's facts over feelings. So let's not get triggered over the emotional, a little like, I can't believe he said that. Like, relax. Let's calm down, right? That's second. And thirdly, when I started this podcast, it's about to go to like maybe, I started around 2018, right? In May 2018. So it's been 19, 20, 21, 22. It's about to be like five years now. And I don't know everything. I never claimed to know everything about everything and all that. But the thing is that, what Pan-African Strikes Back put you up to this? Nah. No. But the thing is that when we come into knowledge of certain historical facts, certain historical events, you know what I'm saying? Certain things, you don't really know everything. So you always get the one-sided picture of historical events, of historical situations. You always get the one-sided picture. And I was running around here with my chest out talking about the civil rights movement was for everybody else and to open the door. Boy, was I wrong. I was so wrong. When I further went into reading and researching, come to find out, and this is historical facts, come to find out, the civil rights movement had nothing to do with people of color. Black folks did not want to include, Black Americans did not want to include everybody. They just wanted to include Black Americans, and that's it. That was it. Later on, Congress and people who make these laws started adding things to it. So the thing is, when you hear certain individuals say, well, we opened the door, not really. That's a half truth. Because the way I see it, Black Americans were used to open the door for everybody else. Black Americans didn't want everybody. They were used to open the door for everybody else. Now, with that being said, I'm going to cut the music off right now. And I'm going to introduce, my YouTube brethren. You know what I'm saying? Denisse, what's going on? What's up,
Brad? What's up, everybody?
What's going on? Listen. We're gonna get into a lot of things tonight, but I know you got a little bit of a disclaimer, so you go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, again, I love the fact that you put up there that don't get triggered by the title is facts over feelings, because that's usually what happens when we talk about these things. And it's mostly because people have believed whatever a charismatic leader has said. And before we start, I know I'm a little long-winded. I'm going to try to shorten up, but every time we say the FBA is a cult, it is a cult. Whether you like it or not, you got to understand that even words like culture and cultivate has the word cult in it. So instead of getting triggered, just look into that aspect. And I'll give you an example, because people only understand things when we explain it to them outside of themselves. I'll give you an example.
Let me just say something real quick.
Go ahead.
For this individual, immigrants were able to have civil rights under the... See, this is the thing. The Civil Rights Act and the Immigration Act of that year never included Latinos.
And not only that,
we're going to get into that. But again, this is the rhetoric that you constantly hear, because certain individuals want to just prop certain other individuals or themselves up to a point where, well, everything's about... No, you know what I mean? So don't get triggers, facts over feelings, but
there's no evidence. It's like I said, people talk on the internet without any evidence of that, because we can dissect that in like 3 minutes and that person will be ashamed. But going back to what I was saying, let's take an example so that people can understand what we mean when we say cult. Take pop culture, for example. 6 years ago, pop culture was telling people that it was okay to be fat and get these fat asses and these fat transfers and all this stuff. And everybody started getting them, to the point that every woman looks the same today. Everyone's getting those duck lips and all this stuff. People are still frying chicken with NyQuil because of TikTok. And also, if you want to compare the FBA cult, I'll give you an example of what pop culture, which is a cult, has done to people. Now the new trend of pop culture is no longer BBLs, is no longer Black Lives Matter or the rainbow emojis on their profile. Right now, the trend of pop culture is the Ukrainian flag. Even though 3 years ago we were condemning, even our newspapers and journalists were condemning Ukraine as one of the most corrupt countries in the world, and Zelensky was an oligarch, endorsed by oligarchs. But if you say these things today, the pop cult will tell you, no matter where you are, that you're a Russian puppet, that you have been paid, or you're a Russian bot, and whatever. It's the same concept that these FBAs are doing. If you debunk with history and facts whatever rhetoric, their charismatic leader that we all know who he is, if you debunk these things, they will tell you you're a debtor. You get my point? So it's the same when I want people to understand, when we're saying this, we're not saying it's to attack. It's just to understand you're under propaganda.
Yeah. So first of all, what we're going to do is talk about a little bit about immigration, right? The beginnings of immigration, especially here in the United States. It's, if you guys don't know, immigration has been a tool used in order to allow certain individuals to come in, giving certain individuals a lot of privilege to get here, and other individuals they pretty much X'd out and excommunicated. Now, this also happened to the Mexican community, the Latinos, but the thing is that when it happened to them, they were still allowed here, but a little bit more red tape. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through history and show you guys the fact that Latinos were already coming here, regardless of certain immigration statuses and laws out there. They were already coming here. And even furthermore, America promoted Latinos to come here for
And
cheap
incentivize
labor,
us. Yeah,
incentivize us for cheap labor. So, what we're gonna do first of all is I don't know what you want to go first.
no, go ahead. Go ahead. I'll follow.
Okay. So what we're gonna do is first of all go through before the 1960s, right? What we're gonna do, I think, what's it called? What was that thing called again?
The Bracero program?
The bracero. There it goes.
It was in 1942. We can even go, you know what? I think we should start even further than that.
Yeah, because
Okay.
I forgot what the other. God damn it! What was the
Look.
other one?
Look, there's several. We're gonna start in the 1848.
Okay.
Right
Okay,
after.
let's do that.
Right
Hold
after
on.
the Mexican American War, there was a treaty signed here in the United States among Mexico and the United States, and it was called the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. If you don't take it from me, go look it up in your history. If you go through the articles, I believe it's Article 8 or 9. That specific treaty granted Mexicans that were already living here the opportunity to enjoy U.S. rights and live within the confinements of the country. And they were there. They were citizens already. They didn't have to go through any process of immigration. America welcomed them with open arms. That was part of the treaty. And there was a lot of Mexican people already embraced into that. So that was, in my opinion, one of the first steps into what it is today known as the Latino community or Hispanic community, however you want to call it here. That was the first display of the country trying to embrace Mexican
Denise,
labor.
I have it. I have it on the screen. Denise, I
Oh,
have it on the
perfect.
screen.
Perfect. If you go to check if it's Article 8 or 9, it's one of those two that establishes that they were already welcomed into this country. Nobody opened the door for them. Mexicans had to actually fight Americans and die in order to get this treaty done.
No, it says September 1847, the Mexican government surrendered to the United States, entering into negotiations on the end of the war. They negotiated a
Go to
treaty.
the try to see if you have the articles there in order for us to read it, because people will punch the air and fight logic.
I got Article 1, 2, 3.
Look for the 8 or 9 article, because I remember this in history a while ago.
This is going to be a really stupid question. I know this is 5. Outside of this,
It's
D,
3, 5,
what's
3 little
5,
3 little
6,
eyes
7.
after the D.
Oh, okay. Hey, okay. My bad.
There we go. Okay, let's see.
Okay. So hold on. Let me blow it up for you. So wait. Okay. Can you hold on? Can you see it? Can you see it?
Yeah,
well?
I can definitely see it. It
Okay.
says,
Wait. Let me see. Everybody can see it. All right. It said it. Okay. Go ahead.
Article 8, Mexicans now established in territories previously belonging to Mexico and which remain for the future within the limits of the United States, as defined by the present treaty, shall be free to continue where they now reside, meaning they will stay in the United States, or to remove at any time to the Mexican Republic. They could repatriate themselves back to Mexico or stay, whatever they wanted to do, retaining the property which they possess, which means if they had homes, property, vehicles or methods of transportation, or animals, land, they will keep those in the said territories or disposing thereof and removing the proceeds wherever they please, without their being subjected on this account to any contribution, tax, or charge whatever. That's what the U.S. did. That was the first proof that we were not here as a result of the civil rights movement. Latinos were welcomed here already with this first step. I'm not saying this is the only one or that everyone was welcome because of this, but this is the first proof that America always desired to have Latino presence here. Okay, this is the first step.
Some of these treaties, understand this, some of these treaties were part of America. So for example, California, Texas, New Mexico, and I believe, no, I think those were it, right? Arizona, I believe, also were part of Mexico already.
Yeah.
So so the Mexican individuals or the indigenous Mexican people who were already on that land now have parts of these rights that these articles, treaties are laying upon you. You want to continue reading?
Yeah.
Go
It
ahead.
says, it says, those who shall prefer to remain in the said territories may either retain the title and the rights of Mexican citizens or acquire those of citizens of the United States. They could already become U.S. citizens, but they shall be under the obligation to make their election within 1 year from the date of the exchange of ratifications of this treaty. So they had till 1849 to become U.S. citizens. And those who shall remain in the said territories after the expiration of that year without having declared their intention to retain the character of Mexicans shall be considered to have elected to become citizens of the U.S. So if they never made the declaration that they wanted to remain Mexicans to the U.S. government, they will become U.S. citizens regardless. And it says, in the said territories, property of every kind now belonging to Mexicans, not to the U.S., not established there, shall be inviolably respected. The present owners, the heirs of these, and all Mexicans who may hereafter acquire said property by contract shall enjoy with respect to it guarantees equally ample as if the same belonged to citizens of the U.S. So they didn't have to.
Wait, real quick. I'm sorry. I know you're about to define what you just read, but real quick to Marquise, I understand Operation Wetback. Operation Wetback happened later on. It was after the 19s. I think was it 19 in the middle of the 1960s. I think Operation Wetback. I could be wrong. I got to double check, but that happened after this whole thing. So that has
We're in the
nothing.
1800s
That was
at
just
this
a
point.
very small. That was a very actually. Hold up. Let me see.
This is the thing. Look, the problem that people seem to not understand. Latinos got here. This is what we're gonna express and explain to people today. Latinos get here every time America needs labor cheaper because they don't want to pay you. I want people to understand that.
That's all it is.
But
That we become the cheap labor that that American people aren't going to get paid for. You know what I'm saying? So these are corporations who are choosing to cut back on costs by having cheap labor and getting basically a pushback by the government.
not only that, once America has already established and has enough workers and replacement from the Latin America sector, they then impose laws to kind of mitigate that migration. And if you bring it up to present days and you compare it to World War I and World War II, you know we're at the brink of World War III. If you don't know that, then I don't even want to have the conversation, but I'm going to tell you.
And to the person saying show resources, what the hell is this on the screen? Are you not seeing? Do you not have
the
your phone
Treaty
up?
of Guadalupe Hidalgo? Look it up.
Yeah, but continue.
So now people are complaining about the influx of immigrants. Well, let me tell you something. What's knocking your door right now, it's a lot of people are going to be shipped to war. So these people are going to be needed. That's why America is letting us in. It's not because they love us. It's not because they want to give us rights. They don't want to give anyone anything. What they're trying to do is just establish a a workforce before they have the disasters that they have had in WW1 and WW2. That's all it is. Look it up and you'll see it's the same trend.
Yeah. So do you want to identify? I mean, define what you read previously?
So basically what they're saying in this article is explaining the terms of what's going to happen to Mexicans that stay here and to their properties. Like I said before, if they decide to not even to not claim their Mexican citizenship, they will by default become U.S. citizens, and they will enjoy all the benefits that any other American citizens will have from their land, their properties, and so on and so on. They could sell, trade, and do whatever an American or US citizen at that time could do. So that's basically what this article in the treaty after the Mexican American War is establishing. Is that clear?
I hope it is.
Because I don't know if it's not clear to some people. Like I see some people like, oh, she's babbling. This is your treaty. This is your history. I'm not making, this is not a Denisse thing. This is what's in your books of your history that you can simply look it up.
Yeah. So origins. Okay. So what's the next thing? The next thing that we're gonna tackle. I think. Which one should we go by?
I think we can jump into the early 1900s. We can go
1942.
We can go to 1910 to 1920.
Okay.
And start with because after this there was an influx of close to 1 million Mexicans into the border, and I want people to. I'm gonna share something from the. I'm gonna share something from
the Immigration Act of 1910.
Not the Immigration Act per se, but basically that America is exactly what I was explaining earlier. America always fluctuates from wanting more cheap labor to actually closing the gap because they already have enough cheap labor. And then when that cheap labor gets depleted for whatever reason, then they open the door again. So basically, during 1910, 1920, this is part of the articles of Stanford University, which is
let me
see if I can share it. Sure. Let me see. Okay, so this is one piece from El Paso Herald of 1920s, where some parts of the country felt there's enough Mexicans here. We don't want more Mexicans coming in here because, there's way too many. But during that time, America was still dealing with World War I. Again, it's all correlated. So the emergency labor that Mexicans were allowed to come here for was still needed. And that's when you have a large sector of the country defending that cheap labor because it was needed for farming. It was needed for different areas of agriculture.
And what year was that?
This is 1920.
Okay. Wait. Hold on. I think we skipped one thing. Do you know the Chinese Exclusion Act?
You touch on that one.
Okay. Real quick. I think because we skipped it. So let me just pull it up.
Let me hide this one.
Yeah. You couldn't. You could have just left it. That's fine. The Chinese Exclusion Act pretty much was the act that is self-explanatory, excluded Chinese. But this is the thing. Can everybody see that? Can you see it?
I can't see it.
Okay. So this is a Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because, first of all, the Chinese people were coming in here and also having cheap labor. The thing is that they decided to have a 10-year ban on Asian people due to I believe for whatever reason. I completely forgot.
It was racism. Most of it.
I think it was something. No, it was something else. But
it was racism for the most part because if you look at this act and later on the act of 1924, also you will see that the people that are in these quotas are people that are non-Western Europeans or non-Western countries. And at that point, people need to remember Latinos were considered Europeans because of the Spanish ancestry. They were considered white as well. So they were never banned from coming into the country. But people from Africa, China, Japan were excluded completely.
Yeah. So this Exclusion Act became the inclusion for Latinos. So right now I have a small clip to show you guys of a professor who pretty much breaks down the exclusion and the inclusion of Latinos here in America, who's been migrating from the very beginning. Right. So let me put that up right quick. Bang, bang, bang. Okay. History of immigration. There you go. You guys can see that? Of course I can. All right. So let me just put the volume up. Go ahead.
Exclusion Act in 1882 to the to today, to the this period that I define as the restriction and criminalization of immigrants period that started in 1993. So as you can see, I have divided this history of migration into 6 periods. And this is the
So he's gonna
periods
go
that
down. He's gonna go down by the first period, and I'm just gonna skip that real quick. So,
and this is very interesting because from the first period, can I see the next one, please? Congress passed the Chinese Exclusion Act that banned immigration from China. Then in 1907, through the Gentleman's Agreement, the governments of the US government and the government from Japan agreed not to send migrants from this country. So with the elimination, virtual elimination of migration from Asia, then Mexico became the most important sending country to the United States. So employers turned their heads towards Mexico and began recruiting Mexicans for employment in the U.S. That's why I think that I can define this period with this phrase: from Chinese exclusion to Mexican inclusion.
so with that, this is a historical professor who was breaking this down. He pretty much broke it down on why Mexicans and Mexico became the labor force for the United States before the civil rights movement, and Mexicans were already coming in here, by that time. So now I believe Denise, I think you're gonna show your thing.
Yeah, now it was what I was explaining about during after all this influx of immigrants, like I explained before. This time around, the only Latinos that were in large numbers here were the Mexicans. So at that point, later on, I'm talking almost 28 years later, we see that the American population, some sectors of the Americans, obviously the workers, started becoming more irritated with the Mexican presence. But there was a large sector of the country that still wanted that labor, obviously because we were already suffering from the repercussions of World War I. Remember, during the time we had the Spanish flu that ravaged and killed several millions of people around the world. So we needed that labor here in the United States. We needed all those hands. And many people were, irritated with it, but some people were not. And it was basically because the Mexican labor was cheaper. It has always been because of that.
Yeah, real quick, hold on. People who keep on saying Mexicans were considered white on the census. This is something that was obvious. This is something that we know.
There's
that right
evidence
there,
of that. There's
that
evidence of
that
that.
right there literally means nothing right now. Being
It's
considered white has no qualms whatsoever on what we're talking about right now, because the Mexicans that were considered white were still being defumigated and all that other stuff. They weren't treated like white. So let's keep it 1,000. You know what I'm saying?
well, yes and no. Yes and no.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but I don't want to
But
get
that's not
derailed.
the topic. That's not
Yeah,
the
yeah, that's not
topic
the
here,
topic.
if they were white or not, because at this point, what we're trying to demonstrate, because this is the problem that I have with people with this, especially the FBA cultists, speaking from both sides of their necks. If Mexicans were considered whites, then why do they needed Black people to advocate for their rights? That's all I'm going to say. Why do we needed the civil rights movement to then allow immigration if we were already white people? We were better
Exactly.
than you at that point in the eyes of the law. So again, Why did they needed black folks to hold the door open? If they were, you see how this doesn't make sense? It's like trying
Yeah,
to
it doesn't make sense.
slap the code a little bit with reality, come back to reality and face the facts. If you can't say someone was considered white, then black people did not do anything for white folks. Black people were doing stuff for the disenfranchised, the abused, the oppressed. That's what white people did. I mean, black people did. Nobody else. And the disenfranchised at this point were African people and Chinese and Japanese.
Yeah. But continue. Go ahead.
So basically, here, there's a lot of press that started coming in the 1920s when a lot of people were trying to come up to the conclusion that the Mexican labor was still needed and they needed to be coming here in large numbers. Again, at this point, there was already almost 2 million Mexicans in the United States, especially in the Western states. So this is just a piece of at that point of propaganda that was being put out by the majority of America that felt at that point that Mexican labor, because it was an emergency at that point, should not be barred out of the country. So that's another proof of what the cheap labor that we've always been notorious to be here for is another proof that America once again wants to allow Latinos into this country because they benefit from our existence here.
Yeah, and again, this is just proof that these type of things are already happening. We were already here, and we were coming in here, due to different acts before the civil rights
The bracero.
movement. So
Bracero was another thing.
now we're gonna move to 1942, the Bracero program, and I like this little timeline down here. If people,
But
could
if
try
you
to,
go
if
if
people
you
could try
go
to
to
see
the
it.
Jones Act first, that's
Yeah.
another thing that I wanted to point out because that this is
You
when
want to
the
do that?
Puerto Rican.
You want to do that?
Yeah.
Let's do that. Let's do this first, and then we'll jump to the Jones Act real quick.
Okay.
Okay. So this little timeline here, it's really important also because right here during I think this was World War One, I believe, 1940. Oh well, it actually says right here, a labor shortage during World War One caused the U.S. dependence to Mexican agricultural workers. So furthermore, this is further proof that Latinos were being brought here for cheap labor without an issue. Nobody was protesting for them to come here. No, the government was incentivizing this. And they were like, yeah, come in, please come in. We need cheap labor. We need this economic wheel to turn. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And they used us. They used Latinos as that cheap slave labor. I'm going to say that. Cheap slave labor. Now, that was part of the Bracero Act, 1942. It pretty much was a program that was designated just so you could bring in cheap labor. And that was incentivized by that. So again, this is further proof that nobody was fighting, protesting for us. Nobody was getting dogs sicked on for the Bracero program. Nobody was getting hosed down and all of that like certain people want to paint. None of that was really happening. No. None of that was happening for Latinos. No, we didn't have allies. Who the ally was the government looking at that money coming in.
Exploitation.
It was exploitation. That's basically what it was. You feel me? So we're gonna move now to the Jones Act.
The Jones Act of 1917. It was signed when Puerto Rico was invaded in 1898.
Hold on, real quick. Shout out to Jose. Shout out to Jose. This is like school. I'm gonna have to rewatch the stream. Yo, it's so stupid. Yo, shout out to Jose and also MK. Thank you for being in the chat. And I'm glad that I made you a moderator. I'm seeing that you're doing your thing. Shout out to you, bro. So continue. I'm so sorry. Do you want to share your screen?
No. I'm gonna say this from I know this from the top of my head. The
Well,
19
I'll just put it up so people so
Okay.
you know hey sources you
Uh,
know what I mean.
okay. 1917 Jones Act
Okay.
it was basically the law that created the free association of Puerto Rico with the United States through we have our own constitution. The US has their own constitution, but we were made US citizens just in time for World War I to happen, because close to 30,000 Puerto Ricans were needed to fight in
Wait,
WW1.
it's known as the Merchant Marine.
Yeah, because the Jones Act also imposed what is known as the ley of cabotaje, which is basically the taxes that we pay for imports and how we need to use US vessels. So it has
Oh,
a lot of the Jones Act has
has
a
a lot of
lot
names
of
and clauses.
articles
Okay.
in it that change the image and the makeup of the Puerto Rican community and establish our direct dependency as a colony of the United States for imports and their exploitation from
So
us with labor.
So let me just say that the Merchant Act in 1920 is a federal statute establishing support of the development of maintenance and merchant marine in order to support the commercial activity in several naval exercises of the time of the war and national emergency. Okay, and
That's
this
that's that's basically BS.
okay
What
under the
they
Joint Act, the plaintiff may be bringing the action to a federal district court and then establish entitled to remove the court, although. Okay, I think it's going into something else. But
so
pretty much
so
the Jones
again,
Act. Yeah, go ahead.
so the Jones Act brings Puerto Ricans into the U.S. to fight the war. Amongst those Ricans was Pedro Albizu Campos, and he was granted U.S. citizenship eventually. When he came back from war, he was able to go to Harvard, became the first Black man graduating with honors in Harvard, and then went to Puerto Rico and formed a political party. However, as a result of the Jones Act, many Puerto Ricans were brought here and encouraged to come to New York, which is why many Puerto Ricans still live in New York, especially in the areas of East Harlem at that point, because they were looking for better opportunities. And if we go even deeper down, after the Bracero program that conveniently ended in 64, if we go to the 1950s, you're going to see that there's a major influx of close to 500,000 of Puerto Ricans coming into specifically the areas of New York, because during that time, Puerto Rico was in such misery that they wanted to transition from sugarcane plantations and agriculture to change the country into industrialization. So because that was happening very slowly, because the Puerto Rico was incentivizing American companies to come in, kind of like what it's happening right now to transition from retail to automation. Uh, we were incentivizing American corporations to come in, establish themselves, provide employment for people. A lot of people did not have jobs, so they were encouraged to come here by the back then governor Luis Muñoz Marin. They were encouraged to come to New York in order to work in the United States. So we have, I'm going to show a graphic here. We have close to 1 million, close to 500,000, I'm sorry, Puerto Ricans coming just alone in that specific decade. I don't know if you can see it.
It, yeah, real quick. I'm gonna read what I got up here for you. For this is the Puerto Ricans that were coming to New York City after the end of the Second World. However, Puerto Rican immigrants increased dramatically. In 1945, there has been 13,000 little frogs in New York City. In 1946, there were more than 50,000. So this is validating what Denise is saying. And also, let me give a huge shout out. Hold up. I gotta do this, Denise. I'm sorry. Gotta
It's okay.
gotta give a huge shout out to my homie Big T for the 99 cents super sticker. Thank you very much. Every little bit counts. Every little bit counts. Again, don't get triggered by the title. It's facts over feelings. We're just giving you everything that actually occurred in United States history. This is not pseudoscience. I'm not talking about well, if you drink sea moss, it's actually going to clean out your cancer. We're not doing none of that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and not only that, it's the
I
fact that
I don't have no ankh tattooed on my eye or whatever the case is. Talking about brother, let's really talk. No, fuck that. We're talking about what really went on. So
yeah, because at the end of the day,
you put your
will
stuff up.
say, people will continue to say, oh, like, oh, but that's like, for example, let's look at this commentary here when it's like, oh, like, let's not compare because they're not part of the Latino immigration because Puerto Rico is a territory. I'm just explaining to you that Puerto Ricans were Latinos, but America wanted to make them citizens, just like they did with the Mexicans with the Guadalupe Treaty, because it was convenient for the US. So it's your country bringing us out here and giving us these benefits and these rights, even before the civil rights movement, because we are prone for exploitation. And to prove what I'm trying to say, look at the decade from the 1950s and 60s up here. Close to 500,000 Puerto Ricans came as a result of Operation Bootstrap, that industrialized jobs in Puerto Rico, but very slowly, and people needed to eat. But before that, you see that there's not a lot of them coming here until after the Big Depression. And even in the 60s, after the civil rights movement, not even close to half of those people came as a result of the civil rights movement. So we see a sharp decline in the 60s on the immigration because
Exactly. So, and also around the 1950s, in the beginning to the 60s, nobody was protesting for Puerto Ricans to get here.
No.
Nobody was getting dogs sicked on them. Nobody was doing none of that. We were already incentivized to get here right for in the very beginning. Why? Let's not get, for the Latinos listening, let's not get this confused. They didn't bring us here for the goodness of their heart. They saw us as a cheap alternative to what they already had. That's all it was. That's all it was. They just saw us as N-words that speak Spanish. Let's keep it real.
Yeah, savages that speak Spanish and had no standards.
So all of this that I'm saying about the civil rights movement and all of this other stuff, don't start beating your chest like we were already here, like that was something good. No. They were looking at us as a cheap N-word. That's all it was. That's all it is. Because we were exploited for cheap labor. Time and time again, me and Denisse are letting you guys know this. Don't be putting don't start screenshotting these little stats and be like, see, we were already here. Yeah, but why? You know what I'm saying? But why? But we're gonna get more deep into this. So continue, Denisse.
So yeah, basically, after this, like I said, you see a sharp decline constantly going down on the Puerto Rican migration after the decade of from 1950s to 60s, because with the industrialization and Operation Bootstraps, the Puerto Rican economy starts becoming better because the American corporations start creating more and more jobs because they were incentivized by basically what we have now happening with Law 20 and Law 22. So basically, we were still incentivized to come, and every time that the country in Puerto Rico, every time that the quote unquote US territory, which is basically a colony, goes through hardship, you will see this whole migration fluctuate to the point that right now, every year you have 43,000 Puerto Ricans coming here because we're going through one of these transitions, but we're coming here with benefits because, well, we'll get to that later, but we're still, it's a trend that I want people to understand. We come here when America incentivized our migration, not the other way around. America allows us in and gives us the benefit to come here and encourages us to come here because during Operation Bootstrap, it was America that brought our people out here. They brought them in former military airplanes that had no insulation whatsoever. So a bunch of jibaros were brought here to work here in the United States. So it wasn't a coincidence. Mexicans are not here by chance. Puerto Ricans are not here by chance. And if we jump even further, Cubans are not here by chance.
Real quick for base. What is Jason Black's academic credentials? What is Tariq Nasheed's academic credentials? Ask for those first before you question us.
No,
So
but this is the thing. We're not speaking on anything from our perspective. We're basically talking about what the University of Stanford says. We're talking about what the treaties of your country says. We're not making this up. This is not our opinion. We're literally just showing you what the country has done. If you don't like it, I get that you're mad, but it's not our fault.
yeah, I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna just move back a little bit to the Bracero program again. Just move back a little bit because I want to show part of the program that's agricultural that we already knew, but also another part of the program that a lot of people don't know took part of that in that Bracero program. So first of all, it starts off with the fumigation station. This is something that Latinos had to go through, but it was very racist. Pretty much the fumigation station or the gasoline baths were the emphasis starts off the Holocaust and how they started implementing all of those things when they wanted to round up Jewish individuals. So we were the first prototype, basically the beta project. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So again, this historian is going to go into the two things that Latinos took care of, or Mexicans, I'm gonna say, took care of part of the cheap labor. So let's go.
Okay, there were really two programs within the Bracero program. The agricultural program that lasted 22 years and the railroad tracks maintenance program that lasted only 2 years.
So let me just say we Mexicans were a part of the agricultural, right, which lasted a long time, but also maintaining railroad tracks. And I don't see that he put this there, but also adding railroad tracks. So Mexicans were putting railroad tracks all over the West Coast, all over, the all over the West Coast connecting to the North. These were workers used for these type of things. So I'm gonna keep it going.
Before
So
you keep it going, that's another thing I want to say. Remember when I said in previous streams that when people are like, we built this country, you build it with other people. That notion that just one group built the whole concept of the United States is a fallacy that people use to profit off of your emotions. Whereas, yes, African Americans build a lot of the country. There's a lot of this country that's also built by other groups. This is proof of that.
I that I don't know what lies you're speaking about. I'm showing the proof. Something that
It's just people that just can't deal with the
yeah,
truth.
something that you don't want to accept. That's on you. I'm not speaking no narrative, no nothing. This is it is what it is. But
We even have a Chinese person explaining his point of view, and we're Latin. As a matter of fact, we're not even from the same descent from the same countries. You're Dominican and Ecuadorian. I'm Puerto Rican. Our histories with the United States are different. So you have three different perspectives here. Plus, you have historical facts that you can verify yourself. You don't have to take our word for it. But if you're still fighting it, it shows that you're in a cult. You're doubling down on what we're saying.
you know
are
why?
indoctrinated.
You know why? Because we're going against their their identity. Their ideologies just became their identity.
Yeah.
So that's the reason. So I'm gonna just keep it. I'm gonna let this professor talk real quick.
you can see the agricultural program lasted 22 years in which 4.6 million contracts were issued. That's a lot of contracts. And
And mind you, these contracts, meaning back then they were looked at as companies. So these contracts that were issued by the government were issued to companies, and there were 4.6 million companies actually hiring cheap labor, which is Latinos, in the U.S. to do agricultural work.
braceros could have many contracts. That's what is not what we are measuring here is people, is contracts.
You see how he makes his distinction. It's not people, it's contracts. You see how he did it right there. He's making it known. So this is just a small part of what the Bracero program pretty much entailed, right? Denise, what do you want to go to right now?
I think we can definitely go to the the Cuban migration with the wet food, dry food situation.
Um, I like that. I like the name. Dry
No,
okay.
it is true. I'm not joking. That was established because okay, before dry food, wet food
Policy.
situation,
Yeah, the
yeah, the
policy.
policy,
Okay.
it was only around 80,000 Cubans already here. But with this incentive that was, we're already into the 60s. With the wet,
Wait, Denise, help me out. Let me know. Is this all right?
yeah, that's okay.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
With the wet feet,
My
dry feet policy.
my feet are dry as fuck right now. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go
Ah.
ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
The wet feed, dry feed, it comes after what happened in 66. You guys know that after America imposed an embargo in Cuba after 61 and Fidel Castro doing a coup d'etat, basically, of what was the American invasion, you guys know that a lot of Cubans had to leave everything they possessed and just go into the sea and travel to the nearest free land that they could get to, and that was Florida. So again, we have the situation happen, and then we have the Adjustment Act of 66. I think it says it here. Let me see. Okay, the Cuban Adjustment Act of 66 that essentially says that anyone who immigrated from Cuba and entered the United States will be allowed to pursue residency a year later. That is the same. Is that doesn't sound the same as the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo? You have 1 year to pursue citizenship. It's the same thing. And after this whole situation with the Cuban Adjustment Act, what happened was that 500,000 Cubans came almost all at once. It's the same thing that happened with Puerto Ricans and the Operation Bootstrap. Once again, America demonstrates its desire for cheap labor and for harboring these people in different parts of the country. Right now, it's not just in the western side, it's also in the south, with having Florida have all this influx of Caribbean Latinos. And the rest is history in that aspect, because we know that Cubans actually took over Florida and they're very successful down there because they established a lot of companies, they established a lot of trades. They did have to work really hard for that. But at the same time, America still incentivized them to come here and start their own journey. This is another proof that this was happening already. So again, I don't know why people keep saying that the door was held open for people. It was not. It was really, really not.
Yeah. Also, mind you, this happened after the the the
The
civil rights
West Feet,
movement.
Dry Feet, the Cuban Adjustment Act happened as the U.S. posed an embargo, and
Yeah.
after Fidel, because this is the thing, there was a point when Fidel Castro took over. He penalized people. At first, you were free to go, but then there was a short period of time where he penalized people for getting into a boat and leaving Cuba.
Yeah.
In 66, he decided, okay, we're not going to do that anymore. If you get to a boat, we'll let you go. You get my point? So that's what the Cuban Adjustment Act happened, because Cubans were coming regardless they were accepted or not. So America saw an opportunity to give them that.
Yeah. Now we're gonna move and we're gonna go to 1965. I'm gonna play a video, and it's a short video. Somebody's giving details on the 1965, Immigration Act of 1965, right? So it's a presentation video, and I want you guys to listen very carefully. If you guys don't understand it, I even rewind it. So I want you guys to listen very carefully to what this person says. All right, go.
The 1965 Immigration Act has to be seen first and foremost as a civil rights measure. It was passed at that time when the U.S. Congress was passing a variety of civil rights laws, of course, the 1964 Civil Rights Act and the 1965 Voting Rights Act. And those laws eliminated discrimination, racial discrimination, prohibited racial discrimination in public accommodations. And there was a feeling in Congress that that same notion of ending discrimination should also be applied to U.S. immigration policy. Up until 1965, U.S. immigration policy.
I want you guys to hear very clearly what he just said.
Same notion of, and there was a feeling in Congress.
There was a feeling in Congress. A feeling in Congress. Nobody was fighting for immigration. Congress decided to do this, but let's continue.
That same notion of ending discrimination should also be applied to U.S. immigration policy. Up until 1965, U.S. immigration policy was heavily biased in favor of Europeans, and in particular Northern and Western Europeans. Tens of thousands of immigrant visas were reserved for Northern and Western Europeans, while Southern and Eastern Europeans, and especially Asians and Africans and Middle Easterners, had very little chance to immigrate to the United States. They were discriminated against on the basis of their national origins.
I'm going to repeat that one more time.
Northern and Western Europeans, while Southern and Eastern Europeans, and especially Asians and Africans and Middle Easterners, had very little.
Asians, Africans, and Middle Easterners. Asians, you wonder why he left Latinos out? Because we were already here doing our thing. Let's keep it going.
Visas were reserved for Northern and Western Europeans, while Southern and Eastern Europeans, and especially Asians and Africans and Middle Easterners, had very little chance to immigrate to the United States. They were discriminated against on the basis of their national origins. And there was a feeling across the country and in Congress that it was time to end that discriminatory practice. So the 1965 Immigration Act abolished what had been this national origin quota system that had been in place for more than 40 years. People from all countries, nationalities had more or less equal opportunity to immigrate to the United States. So,
okay, Denisse, what did you get from this?
Well, I get that the whole notion of what the cultists have been saying, that they created avenues for us to come here, is basically that they shot themselves in the foot, because you open the door, and it's not that they did. Congress did them dirty. That's why I do agree that the Black community has been heavily sabotaged throughout history on purpose by their own government, not by Mexicans, not by Ricans, not by Latinos, not by Chinos. It's literally by their own government, because they basically say, okay, we had to grant a full Bill of Rights to Black folks. We don't like them. We don't want them to prosper. So we're going to put a lot of people in the mix so that they have to not fight us, but they have to fight them. You get my point? So it's basically dividing dividing the peasantry now between all the riffraff and all that it's not red tape anymore. They cut all the red tape, but behind that red tape, what was waiting for African Americans was a war that's still taking place today. And many people that do not put their feelings before, like Westerns do, like us, we put our feelings before everything else. People like Asians that put their feelings at the end of the list became very profitable and prosperous in this country because they decided to not fight us and just play the game. Get my point? So basically, that's what was waiting for African Americans. And on top of that, then you open the door for the Africans to come here. And we already know what's going on between the diaspora wars amongst all Black people from overseas. Yeah. So that's basically what's happening here.
I want to highlight this comment. We need to rise up against the divide and conquer. Real talk. I'm so sick of the wars between brown and Black. It's ridiculous. I could not agree more. And this is the thing that this stream is not to go against people, is going against a talking point. That's what it is. It's going against a talking point and correcting that type of talking point. Let's be honest. We as non-white people look up to white people and what they say, and we use that as gold. So this is a white man even saying that the 1965 Immigration Act didn't include Latinos, it included everybody else but us. You know why? Because we're already coming here. You know what I'm saying? We're already coming here. And also, the Civil Rights Act had nothing to do with fighting for our plight whatsoever. It was for black folks. Black folks was fighting for black folks, which rightfully so. But
Yeah, because they
the
didn't
government went in there and bogarted a bunch of BS. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because if you think about it, people forget that the civil rights movement was basically telling the government we're human beings, and the precedent for us to be human beings in the eyes of the law is that we were emancipated based on God-given rights. That's the 13th and 14th Amendment. That's basically what it's about. So how come we don't have full access to a full bill of rights like everybody else? You get my point? So they were not treated equally, but they were already Americans. So basically what this is doing, instead of getting mad, get mad at the Congress and the structures of your country, because what they basically said with this was a slap in the face to African Americans, was basically saying, hey, we think of you as we think about the rest of the world, and we're going to make an unfair battle for you, because now we're going to give these people access also to what we gave you access for, only you had to die for it. Get my point?
Yeah. Now I'm gonna do something a little crazy right now. I'm gonna put the link on the chat, and I'm gonna see whoever wants to come up. Do you want to do that?
Yeah, one thing I want to say before we bring people up is the fact that there's two things that I want people to understand that are still happening when it comes to immigration. We're still in this pickle. The whole concept of temporary work with the Bracero program has been replaced today with what is known as the H-2B visas. That's basically the federal government grants corporations to bring workers from Latin America or other places in the world that are in a specific list of countries. And it's always Honduras, Guatemala, Mexico. All these places are the ones that are included there. But it gives you workers for 3 years. So they can come here and they have papers and everything through the United States, and they get incentivized to come here, work, make money, and then go back to their countries in 3 years. As a matter of fact, our congresswoman from Puerto Rico proposed to Congress last year. I made a stream about that. To include the Dominican Republic in the list of the H-2B visa so that they can come and also work out here. So this is not a foreign concept in modern society. This is the same concept being used again because, again, we have had 20 years of constant war and we're about to walk into another war. And as if that wasn't enough, let's not forget that Antony Blinken, the Secretary of Defense, already established last year that there are countries that are not included anymore in the visa lotteries. One of them is Venezuela, and the other one is Brazil, and another one is Canada. What those three things have, those three countries have in common? Easy. They're not working for cheap labor. That is what they have in common.
Yeah.
Now Venezuelans, because of the closing sanctions, are willing to do it, but at the end of the day, they were not back then. So we're still seeing the same things that we saw in the past. They're coming to pass now because America wants to keep people, especially this is directed to the FBA code. They want to keep you fighting us rather than to fight your government, which is the problem.
Yeah. I want to just address this comment. Somebody said radical rancho. Let's relax with that. Let's chill. I'm not doing nothing crazy to that point or whatever the case is, but Rancho has his beliefs. That's extreme, and I got mine, but no, it has nothing to do with nah. I'm good. We got Kevin C in the back. I want to introduce the people to Kevin C. What's going on, bro?
Hey, hello, Radical, Miss Denise. How you guys doing?
We're good. We're good. We're good. We pretty much sprinkled part of some historical things here and there. I because it's a live stream, I didn't want to go too deep, but there was a lot of things that we left out, but it's fine. But so far for what we were showing, what are your points of views on what we're showing? Do you agree, you disagree, or you want to give a comment?
Yeah. So I agree with what you guys are saying. The history is good. I'm glad that you actually pointed to that, and it reinforces what Black people already know. Well, the ones who study the history and who understand a bit about politics and how Congress uses other groups in order to work against Black people.
Yeah.
That's why when I say that we had this conversation the other day. I'm not overly excited, or what do you call it? I'm not overly antagonistic towards the folks who come here seeking economic opportunities, because if the United States wanted them not to come here, then they just shut all of that stuff down. They create totally incentives. Yeah. So and Black people don't control immigration. We can't stop it, so we just got to deal with it. And the issue is is Black people looking at how it affects them negatively, and you know what? But the honest thing though really is that all those programs are fine and dandy. There's really no issue with that. If you need folks, bring them in. I would say the issue that Black people have is that they're summarily excluded from these programs. And that's what Black people are looking at. That's why. So what it does, it creates a natural animosity between groups, because they're looking at people who are not citizens or people who just showed up getting something that they as citizens are not getting. So in a way, what happens is you create this animosity between groups, this natural animosity between groups, because you're getting something that somebody who is descended from a group of people who've been here for X number of years or decades, is not getting. That's the issue.
Now let me.
Here's how they're supposed to do. I'm gonna tell you how they're supposed to do it, Radical.
Yeah.
What they're supposed to do is go, look, we have a group of people who are already here: whites, Blacks, Hispanics, Asians, whatever, and then we're gonna square those people away first, and then whatever we have excess that we haven't filled, quotas, is that what we need, we're going to bring additional people in. That's how it should work, and that's how it's supposed to work, and that would be the fair thing to do.
Yeah.
What they're doing is excluding Black people altogether and just bringing in people.
Now let me ask you. I'm sorry. Let me ask you something.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's fair for the people who have the animosity towards the other people who are getting resources? Do you think it's fair to have animosity towards that people, or should they have that animosity towards the government?
No, it's the government. It's always been the government.
Okay, but the thing is, a lot of people paint with a broad brush and say, "Well, you see, the Ukrainians are getting it when the Ukrainians got no voting power whatsoever. It's the government." You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's just it's like learn how to pick your battles. You know what I'm saying?
Everything always goes back to the government. Yeah, Ukrainians, look, again, they're taking advantage of an opportunity. I'm not mad at them for doing what it is they need to do. Plus, on top of that, they're in dire straits with the war going on. And then same thing with the Afghans. Look, they're getting, this is not, I would say that's not the argument that Black people have. The argument is, if they get 20 billion, we need that 20 billion too.
But But the problem is this. The problem is, Kevin, that we see more often than not that the country does not want to give you the 20 billion that they gave other people. Yeah. And the problem is that we have cultist people, different cults, that decide that it's a cool idea to hate on the group that gets those benefits without thinking what those groups had to go through in order to get that benefit. Because I think there is a laser focus, like a tunnel vision, that often, not everyone, okay, I want to make that disclaimer because people get sensitive, but often, I would say 8 times out of 10, African Americans have a tunnel vision into what benefits people are getting instead of looking at the whole journey. Yes, Mexicans got benefits out of the United States, but how many Mexicans the U.S. killed in order for them to gain access to their land and citizenship? Now,
yeah, I was going
to again, but let me continue. Puerto Ricans gained citizenship and benefits, but how many people had to sacrifice their lives, live in segregation and abuse and oppression until this day being desecrated in order to get those rights? And I can continue country after country, because even now that we're seeing the whole billions that are being sent to Ukraine, and even Cubans, look at all the oppression that the U.S. is still doing, starving those people, because that's not only the Cuban regime that's doing that. Let's keep it real. This is something that the U.S. is already doing to these people, starving 11 million Cubans.
Yeah,
So if we look at
real quick, Denise, you're gonna finish. Truth teacher, I see you in the back. Let Denise finish. I want Kevin to answer what Denise is saying, and then I'm gonna bring you in. Go ahead, Denise.
And also, like, for example, look at the whole situation with Ukraine. People are seeing the 80 billion that we have put into that war, but let's keep it real. How many Ukrainian men, women, and children have suffered, lost everything that they own, so that America can come as a quote unquote white savior, when in reality America is just doing this to these people? So at the end of the day, we need to stop as the peasantry, because we're all peasants. We need to stop trying to hurt each other and understand that's what the country, the oligarchy, and the people in power are doing, so that you guys, instead of fighting them, you fight us. It's kind of like what I said before we started the whole panel.
Yeah, well, this is the issue that we have with black politicians, right? And that's why I say they're useless. They're basically token positions. And not only that, you have some who are outright, you have a lot of them who are just outright sellouts, because what they're supposed to be doing on behalf of black Americans is saying, hey, look, we get it. You as Congress, United States government, do what you need to do in order to bring people in to show up your numbers that you need. Say you need 100,000 folks, right? You got, but you got 30,000, black men who need jobs. Okay, then, well, those 30,000 black men get those jobs, right? And then you bring in the 70,000, whatever, to show up your deficiencies. There's nothing wrong with doing that. The issue again goes back to they're just skipping over the black men who need those jobs altogether, and then just bringing in everybody else and giving 100,000 jobs to just everybody else and excluding black folks, and just say, hey, you Negroes are lazy. Stop your whining and complaining and pull yourselves up by your bootstraps. That's what black people are talking about. And the other thing too is we understand, and I know that there's some, especially it's not as obvious today as it used to be, but the United States military, this is kind of why we got into that last little back and forth about what the military does and doesn't do. But the United States military has done a lot of dirty, nasty things, especially going up until about the 1940s, 1950s. And then it leveled off. And the worst thing they did that everybody knows about, of course, is the Vietnam conflict. And then after that, a lot of stuff with a lot of U.S. policy was tied to, well, we're in this country or in this region of the world at the invitation, quote unquote, invitation of a specific government. So they disguise it and mystify it and try to, make it not look as bad as what it really is. But before all of that, 1950s and earlier, the United States was going through and just running ravage in different countries and destabilizing those places, tearing things up, killing a lot of people, this, that, and the third. And not only that, I'll go ahead and close this out by saying my argument would be, I would like to reinforce the fact that if they're doing that, the United States government is doing that to other countries and destabilizing, destroying, and tearing up the economies and doing all this other stuff and creating these unstable situations and forcing people to be economic refugees. Why is it that when black people say that the same thing is happening to them, everybody's like, nah, that's not you guys are just complaining.
Because let me answer real quick that question, because I'm not trying to do oppression Olympics here, but it's because you guys really are, the kind of hell that you guys have lived is reserved for you guys. But in American soil today, in modern society, you guys really are not living through what these people are living through. You guys don't know what it is to live off of $2 a month like Venezuelans do thanks to the US. You guys don't know what it is to live with 50 cents a month like Cubans do thanks to the US. You guys don't know what Mexicans live through because of the US, what Colombian bombardings did in the 90s thanks to the US, what Libyans and Syrians are going through because of the US. You guys don't get these attacks today. I'm not saying you guys haven't experienced your own share with the country, but what we're saying is like we can't argue that, why you guys can get our point, because we come from hell. and you're trying to say that purgatory is bad. And purgatory is bad. It's not heaven, of course, but it's not hell. And that's the point that I think many people are missing.
Yeah.
Now,
Okay. I want to just real quick. I want to introduce Truth Teacher. Truth. What's going on, bro?
Yo, what's up?
What's up? What's up? What's up? I'm gonna let. I know I see people in the back. I want to let the people first of all say their thing first, and then we can have the open discussion. So, Truth, give me your thoughts on this whole thing.
Well, what I want to say just confirms what I've been saying a long time. We've had discussions before about why Latinos are being automatically classified as white. And this conversation really sheds light on why they're doing that, because it's something that happened before, right? And something I said before. With the Mexicans, they were classified as white when it's clear that a large percentage of them are actual people who are either Native American or have a lot of Native American ancestry. And you can tell just by looking at them. But you see, the thing is, racial classifications, like I've always been saying, are created by the government not for our benefit, but for the benefit of the ruling system. So if you bring these people over here, these Mexicans, and you classify them as white, what you do is you take away their ability to fight against racial discrimination, because when you treat them, you can bring them here and treat them just as discriminatory or exploitatively as you did African Americans. But if they go and they try to sue on the grounds of racism, well, how can it be racism? Because you can't be racist, experiencing racism because you're white. So now we see right now they're trying to sneak the same thing in by automatically classifying Latinos as white. And if what everyone is saying is true, that a war is looming on the horizon, and you're going to need to have all of this cheap labor, all of these people being exploited, well, then when they start trying to fight for their rights and, call out the racism, oh, well, it's not racism because you're white.
Yeah.
So they mark it down on paper as one thing, they treat you as something else in real life. And they, it's a trick bag.
Yeah. I'm gonna bring in Don. Don, what's going on, bro?
All right, yo, I'm
I'm
gonna
chilling.
bounce out. I just wanted to share that piece because I got to get back to doing my thing.
All right, peace. What's going on, Don?
No, not much. I'm just relaxing and everything like that.
Gotcha. Do you
So
got anything to say about the topic?
I mean, yeah.
Okay, go
It's
ahead,
like,
bro.
all right. My thing is that, with all that and with all what you've said about discrimination, I mean, within the Latin communities and the black community, one thing I got to say is that when my aunt actually came here from the Dominican Republic in 1957, and she worked in New York and everything like that, she was telling me when she actually married her husband, who I guess you would actually consider a Creole or something like that, and she moved back with him down south to Gulfport. She was saying that everybody was saying that when she moved down to Gulfport, her husband was telling the stories of racism, and since he was passing, nobody would ever think that he was African American. I guess in history, I was actually reading about that. They were talking about white passing, but as the topic at hand and the stats that y'all actually showed, I actually agree with it, because if people have your history and you have your stats and everything like that, where's the lie at?
Exactly. Thank you for coming in. And I got Prince over here. Yo, Prince. What's going?
Hey, Radicals, what is with that graphic? Come on, man.
Oh, no. Because
the security grad. Everybody pointing at each other. Is that the deal?
what? No. I just used that. That was yesterday's thing. I should have got something else.
I want to say something real quick.
I should have got something like
Brad.
this or something.
I want to say something real quick before there was something that Morena asked earlier when she said how many people are right now lobbying, and this is something that we've been saying for a long time. Which groups are lobbying for reparations with the government in DC? Because this is, again, it's the same thing we've been saying. Stop fighting the peasantry. Okay, we're all peasants at the end of the day. My thing is, because none of us are part of the oligarchy right now. So why is it that instead of focusing on the gold, we're already giving you the information. We were brought here just as a result of wars and for cheap labor. And then when you guys acquired a full bill of rights, they brought in competition to keep y'all poor. Why, instead of fighting the other poor people that also came here to try to find better positions and better opportunities, why instead of fighting those people that are broke as hell and are dirt poor, why instead of fighting them, you don't fight the freaking government? They are the elite. They are the enemy. They are the problem. Why is it that there's no talks of all this energy is never in Washington? It's never there.
Because they're too brainwashed.
Let me wait real quick. I'm gonna address this. Earth says FBA Black Americans served in every war the U.S. has waged against other countries. Latinos did also. I think I proved that some other stream.
Going back to the revolution, right?
In every country, in every war.
I want Prince to go. Prince, what's going on, bro?
What's up? How you doing today, man?
Oh, this guy, yeah.
What's up, Prince? Jesus.
I'm the prince that was promised, and I'm coming to do something I never do, which is defend African Americans now. Okay. Because there's a lot of
real quick. You're gonna defend African Americans? I get it. What? Give me your thoughts first, and then go into your spiel.
My thoughts on what?
On this whole topic.
The topic is that listen, the data that you presented wasn't false data. But my problem is this argument that African Americans shouldn't be angry at other groups is just false, right? Because the problem that we have that people never want to recognize is that by proxy, right? I come from immigrant parents, grandparents, right? That I cannot deny the benefits that my mother, my uncles, my father, everyone in my family has benefited from based off of the backs of FBA's ancestors and certain people that are still alive today, right? And I think people who pretend that that's not the case is just very, very sad. And it's a very sense of entitlement, right? Because this notion that we shouldn't fight, the peasants shouldn't fight amongst each other, is just very, very sad. It's like when you're a child and your brother hit you, and then you're screaming, and then he runs to your mother and says, well, he hit me, right? And then you get in trouble, because that's what a lot of groups do. A lot of groups, they come here, they move into Black neighborhoods throughout history because they could not move anywhere else. And do they unite with African Americans? No, they did not, right? What they did was they treated African Americans poorly, and they turned on them to get benefits from the government. Right? And every time, every group, the Irish did it, the Italians did it, the Spaniards did it, right? Every time, every single time, right? The Africans did it, the Asians did it as well. But then, right, instead of saying, hey, you know what, we're going to reunite with the African Americans, right? And help them and help ourselves. No, they don't do that. What they do is the moment they get a little something from the government, they say, fuck them niggas over there. All they do is eat fried chicken and drink malt liquor. I don't fuck with them. They're disgusting. They're everything bad and everything wrong with them. While they are themselves doing horrible things within their own community and the government. And that's sad.
There's
no buts. There's no buts.
Hold on. Let me ask you something. Are you saying that every other group outside of Black Americans care about their own group but Black Americans? Is that what you're saying?
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that every group shits on Black Americans to get something for the government.
Okay, wait.
Every group come to the country. Every group.
Wait. Give me an example. Meaning. Give me an example of what group took resources from the government and shitted on Black Americans. Give me an example.
Check out the Irish. The moment the Irish got the ability to take over the fire department, what did they do? They were no longer the Irish and the Blacks used to be really cool. So did the Italians and the Blacks. They used to be really cool. But the Italians got the police department and the Irish got the fire department in many urban cities. And once that happened, what did they do? They turned on Blacks.
Yeah.
So wait,
not only that.
Wait. That the government didn't give police departments and all that to Irish folks.
Yes,
that wasn't.
They did.
That wasn't. That wasn't a government.
They did.
That was not a government incentive.
That's how it works. Come on, now.
Come on,
was that
you're splitting hairs. There wasn't an overt program to actually do that. They just
I could know.
They went through their hazing period in order to get into whiteness.
Hold on. So I can know because I don't know about this history. So I can know. Did the government just say, well, we got a bunch of firehouses that we built. We're only going to give it to Irish and Italians. Is that what happened?
No, come on. That's not specifically
how it happened.
No, you're using semantics, right?
No. What you said.
I can go ahead and explain this to you.
Wait, hold on.
No. What you're doing is
that
saying
people take stuff from the government and shit on Black people. And I told you, give me an example.
If I have 5 people on this panel, Radical. If I say I need someone to do my books, right? And then I say, you know what? Me and Don Armando look very similar. I know I'm going to give it to him, right? Because that's what I want to do because we look similar. And you guys, it doesn't matter what any of you motherfuckers say. I know I'm going to give it to him because we're going to do a little backdoor deal. I'm the government, right? And this is people who are working within the government, right? American whites working within the government say, hey, we're going to give it to this group right here so we can pacify them, right? They gave them the fire department and they gave the Italians the police department, right?
While excluding Black Americans.
Now I want to ask a question.
Even in their own neighborhoods.
I'm not gonna deny none of this stuff. What I'm saying is,
I gotta look at.
I wasn't done with my point.
No, but let me. But hold on.
Let me rock because I wasn't done with my point. No, hold on. I was still making a point and I got interrupted. Right?
Okay.
Still today, this week, right? Groups in Wisconsin literally is suing the federal government to stop Joe Biden from absolving student loan debt. And they put this in their court filings because it will close the racial gap with Black Americans. This shit is, they didn't say Hispanics. They didn't say fucking Asians. They didn't say Indians. They said Black Americans. You don't believe me? Google that shit yourself. Listen, I don't want to come up have to defend them, but in reality is they're getting shit on.
That made no sense.
What do you mean?
Let me say why that didn't make no sense. Okay. The government wants to stop the loan and all that other stuff, right? How is
No, that's not the government wanting to stop it. That's a certain group of people want to stop it.
No, well, isn't the government paying the loans?
Yeah, but
that's what I'm saying. Well, anyway, the government.
No, but you got a certain group of people that's literally filing a lawsuit to stop it, so that Black people don't get any benefits whatsoever.
Let me just say what I gotta say. So the government is paying the loans for a certain group of people or amount of people.
Everybody.
Everybody. How is that shitting on Black Americans?
Because when you stop it and put it in litigation and you stop it, anybody from getting money, then Black people don't get it either. All right, but what they do is they'll still essentially figure out a way to get it to the other groups while excluding Black people.
Look,
it's the same thing they're doing with farming right now.
Wait.
It's the same thing they've been doing with farming for decades.
I don't even understand. How is that screwing over Black Americans if Black Americans got student loan debt too? So if you're clearing student loan debt,
listen, you didn't understand what I was saying.
How is that screwing Black Americans off?
You didn't understand. There's a group in Wisconsin, right? A group made up of small business owners, taxpayers, and different, let's say, white Americans. Okay. They're suing the government to stop them from abolishing a portion of student loan.
Yes.
Yeah, I've
when
seen
I
that.
said
Right?
when I said that doesn't make any sense, is
No,
because
it makes sense because most student loan debt is held by.
Let me tell you why it doesn't make sense to me. Because you said people get resources from the government and shit on black people, right? Black Americans. So you giving that example, saying, well, they're trying to stop resources from coming, is still going to. You give me outside of something about
Right.
firehouses and police stations.
But Rod, let me say something.
Because I really don't get it.
Look, let me say something real quick.
You don't get it because you don't understand how the government
hold on, because I let people talk. This is the thing. I want to know, and I have two questions. I want to know, because we often just focus on one group to kind of like broad brush this weird narrative. I want to know, outside of Latinos, which group in America does not shit on Latino immigrants? I want to know which group, and I want proof of that. Which group in America does not shit on Latinos in the stuff we do, in our culture, in our immigration, in our jobs, in who we are, in our language? Which group does not shit on Latinos? Because since I came here and I was born a U.S. citizen, I knew English since I was 8 years old. All I received from every group, it's xenophobia. This is the way the country is because there's so many freaking people from all over the world. Second of all, again, proving the point, being angry at the Irish and the Germans and the Chinos and the Latinos, you can choose to stay angry. But at the end of the day, the firehouses and the police department are controlled by the government. It's not like these people actually had the power to come to government and make these changes. The Irish and also the Italians were also damaged by this country. Let's keep it real. I have Italian friends. So at the end of the day, no, hold on. I haven't finished. No one is saying that they went through what you guys went through. I think people need to listen to understand, not to respond. Please, we're grown. We're very intelligent people in this panel.
No, some people aren't intelligent.
So again,
they don't know history.
So again, back to what we were talking about. The government gave this for a reason. It's the same thing, the same reason why the government said, okay, Black Americans accomplish getting their civil rights bill in 65. Now we're going to screw them over and bring people and give them the same rights. This is your government sabotaging you, not the people. The Irish and the Italians. Exactly. So what is the point of being mad at the people when you have so many instances with the same group, which is the people in power, are doing this to you? So it takes longer for you to actually get stuff done because they're telling you to stay mad at the groups rather than the people doing this to you, which is the people in power. It's a smaller group even. Okay. The people in power are not a large group.
Okay,
can I give a rebuttal,
Denise? Are you done? Okay, so you're absolutely right. It is the government.
You got next, Lord. You got next.
All these things. They're literally excluding Black people and giving stuff and resources and benefits and jobs and all this other stuff to everybody else. That's where the fight is. That's where the real fight is. The other part to that too is just like Prince, right? You're Prince, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So that's just like Prince said, is that there are still people who will go out of their way to block and come up with legislation and instigate or institute lawsuits to actually prevent Black people from getting what, even when the government tries to make a correction. That happened with the PPP loans. It's happened for decades with the farmers when they actually sued the United States government to get what they should have got, the same as white farmers got. And then when they finally started to do that, matter of fact, just recently, Joe Biden said, nah, I'm done trying to help you Black farmers. I'm just going to drop it all together. I'm not going to do anything. Like literally, you have people going out of their way who are non-Black to actually, intervene or interdict, where when Black people sue to actually fight the government to get the resources and stuff they're supposed to get, then you actually have people who will go out of their way to put in lawsuits, to start lawsuits and keep stuff in litigation to the point where people are losing their farms, they're losing property, they're losing homes, they're not getting the jobs, they're not getting anything. Meantime, that's literally the whole point, is to keep things in limbo so that way Black folks never get anything, and then say, well, see, you Negroes, are just too lazy. You're this, you're that, and the third. Like literally, there's an article that came out about how $50 billion a year is being lost because black men are not being hired because companies are refusing to hire black men. Like literally, that's a legit thing that's still happening in present day. I'm not saying that other people shouldn't get some of those jobs. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that you can't exclude a group specifically, give benefits, resources, and jobs, and set aside to everybody else, and then expect that group not to be upset about it. And again, the fight is not with the Latinos or Hispanics or anybody else. It's with the government. But we literally have our own government working against us. We literally have black politicians, you know, whether they be native born or black immigrants, working against their own people. Against them. Like that's literally what's happening. And because you guys probably don't see it in your group, you say that, you know, or you don't, I guess you don't really, you know, you kind of expect that our politicians, because really what's supposed to be happening is people like, everybody knows Maxine Waters. Maxine Waters is supposed to be screaming, yelling, jumping up and down on Joe Biden's desk, talking about what the hell you ain't doing for black people. You don't see her doing that. You don't see Jamal Bowman doing that. They're fighting about immigration, which immigration is a low-level issue for black people, but not really a major issue. Right. When you ask black people what it is they're talking about, I ain't talking about immigration. We're talking about something else. We're talking about resources and stuff going into black neighborhoods, economics, economic investment, you know, political representation that's equitable to what everybody else gets, and then education. You do those things, then black people will be fine. It's not really against the Latinos, the Hispanics, or I'm sorry, the Asians, and all these, even these non-citizens. I don't even care what the Afghans are doing. My whole thing is, if they get $8.9 billion to come into the United States, then you should be funneling money into those black neighborhoods to make sure they get the $8 billion, you know, dollars too, so that way they can invest in their own areas. You got black people getting kicked out of their own neighborhoods by other groups. You know, you saw it when they sent those immigrants up to not even immigrants. I don't know what they were calling. I'll just say they're migrants. They sent those migrants up to Martha's Vineyards. Those white people kicked them out in 44 hours. Black people don't have the power to do that. When they come and swarm black neighborhoods, then they get those benefits and all those resources that should go to black people, and then they eventually take over. And the black people get kicked out. No white people ain't gonna let them know Latino who just showed up come and kick them out of Martha's Vineyard. They're not gonna do that because they have the power to stop it. That would be black Americans' major issue. All right. So again, you have the government doing it, and then you have literally people going out of their way, business people who have the power to do it, even adding to the lawsuits to actually keep things in limbo so black people don't benefit in any way. People got a real bug up their ass about black people getting anything. Like that's the point I think Prince was trying to make, and that is black people's major gripe. So it's not with you guys. We don't care that you guys are getting stuff. It's like, damn it, if you get it, then we get it too. That's all black people are asking for. Nothing more, nothing less. We want our share of what everybody else is getting. And you say we got to have allies and we got to fight and do this and all this other stuff. We literally have our own people working against us. Myra Flores is not working against Latinos. She's helping Latinos. We got Maxine Waters that ain't done crap. That's why those damn Democrats aren't getting black men's votes. Because what the hell do we need to vote for them for when they haven't produced anything?
Land the plane, bro. Because I want this dude to go.
One thing. What is Sonia Sotomayor doing for Puerto Ricans in the Supreme Court? Nothing. Now, another thing I want to say is that
she doesn't have the power to do anything. She's interpreting the Constitution. That's not a good example.
Oh, come on. Look, the Supreme Court.
All the judges do is interpret the Constitution.
Kevin, can I talk because I don't like
I just want to correct you on that.
No, you can correct me on that because you're not Puerto Rican. The Supreme Court, our issues get brought up to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court right now said that it's okay for us to have a dictatorship on our island. Sonia Sotomayor is there. There's a lot of issues that if you don't do a favor before answering this question, listen to comprehend again. Go and look up all the issues that Puerto Rico has brought up to the Supreme Court and just look about what Sonia Sotomayor has done about that.
Is she voting for or against you guys?
No, she's against us. Now,
okay, let
me continue. I haven't finished. When people talk about all these billions and all this stuff, I mentioned it earlier, but again, we don't listen to comprehend, we listen to respond. And again, do you really think that an empire is graceful and sweet enough to give a bunch of tiraflechas like us Latinos benefits out of the goodness of the heart? No, we literally get These benefits come at a 91% discount. They get billions and trillions out of the resources of our land, and they give us 9% of it in the form of this precious benefits you see. But 91% of those things stay in the U.S. Do you think they really don't make money out of us? They make a shitload of money out of us. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
We're not getting. Hold on. This money that we get, these benefits that you see, is not for free. We have worked for this stuff. We have suffered and died for this stuff, and it's not even at this price. They're paying only 9% of the price we pay for this stuff. That's the problem that people
what's suffering? What's suffering?
No, she's right. She's
again,
right.
Again. We wanna diminish stuff because we don't see these things. Again,
no, but you don't understand is how empires work.
I'm not gonna argue about this because it's well known and well documented that an empire cannot flourish and become the richest country in the world without exploiting the rest of the world. That is something that I'm not gonna argue about. Now, one thing I will say is, again, where is the proof? Where are the groups that love Latinos, that don't shit on Latinos? I want that question answered.
You cannot.
Where are those
no.
I want the groups that love Latinos.
You asked the question, so I'm going to go ahead and answer it. Are you saying Black Americans are crapping on Latinos at wholesale?
I asked what
because I can't speak for the Asians. I can't speak for white folks. I know what white folks do.
Here's the problem, right? The real problem is that every time you guys are making my point. Every time African Americans, right, FBAs talk about their plight, all you guys say is, "What about us? Us too."
That's not true.
Yes, it is. You're doing it right
That's
now.
not true. That's not true. That's not true.
You guys are sitting here this whole time. Everybody, like Radical, I watched you on the stream play videos of motherfucking LA Mexicans say, "Fuck blacks. They better not get reparations, and we need to protest them getting reparations."
Yeah,
Bro,
you're right, but they don't
care.
They don't have no power. I could care less. I can even say I don't want black folks to get reparations. I don't have no power. Who y'all are supposed to be really mad at?
You do have power.
No, I do. You should really get mad at the government. That lady that said about reparations. What? That's who you should get mad about. I could care less about who's protesting because y'all protesting about reparations now. Marcel Dixon didn't even get voted in by a whole bunch of black folks. So black people don't even want reparations.
If I have a guy that tells me he wants to get a job, and I say, you know what? I think about getting you a job. Fuck that shit. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do something to shit on you. I'm gonna go fuck your wife. And then you be like, and I be like, yo, don't be mad at me. Don't be mad at me. It's constant shit of doing shit to fuck.
But that's not true, bro. That's not true.
Asian Fred Hampton.
Bro, listen, FBA is talking about FBA is talking about that. FBA is talking about their plight. FBA is talking about their plight. Dude, FBA is talking about their plight. Nobody is saying, what about me? No, we're understanding that.
No, that's what you guys are saying.
How?
Every time.
Okay, give me one. No,
black people help gays.
Give me one. No, give me one plight. Give me one plight. Give me one plight. Give me one plight that FBA is talking about right now that we said, what about us? Give me one plight.
What are you talking about?
One plight that FBA is talking about right now that we just said
reparations.
Oh, okay. So when did I say we need reparations?
I didn't say you. I said Hispanics.
Okay,
right?
Name me
because you guys want to
name me Hispanics. Name me a Hispanic right now that said, "Well, screw that reparations. We need it too."
Bro, you played it on your platform.
What I played was that
whatever the Mexican dude
y'all don't need it. He never said that. Give it to them. He said, "Y'all don't need it."
He did say it. He literally said it. He said we should get it first.
No. He said Native Americans should get it first. That's what
he said we should get it first.
That's not what he said, bro.
You want me to bring this shit up and put it in the back chat?
Maybe he did.
Do you want to post it in the back chat? Because I pay attention, bro.
Maybe I didn't hear it, but
I pay attention.
But my thing is that okay? Because the reparations, the whole reparations argument is okay. The descendants needs to get reparations. That's cool. I'm for that. But my thing is, don't start coming out of nowhere saying, well, you guys come and do this and this and this when black people don't even want reparations. Let's keep it 1,000. Let's keep it 1,000. If black people want the reparations, that weekend where Secure the Tribe was all over the place and having rallies and all that, you don't know about the reparations rally?
Bro, I know about the rally. What you're saying is
those reparations rallies.
What you're saying is don't get mad at me
would have been a lot larger than
because
6
other
people.
murdered.
They would have been a lot larger than
because
6
other
people. They would have been a
do
lot
it,
larger than 6 people if people really care about reparations, bro.
A wrong is a wrong.
6 people only showed
a
up,
wrong
fam.
is a wrong.
6 people showed up, fam. If black people really care about reparations, if y'all really care about reparations,
I'm not arguing against your point, Radical.
What I'm saying is 6 people, more than 6 people would have showed up, fam.
You see how you're standing on defending, shitting on them? You're literally right now doing what you say that y'all don't do.
What I'm doing
you're
is
standing
disproving
bro, you've been
because
shitting on them for the last 3 months.
Because don't say that's
do
not say that there's a plight that black people care about when they don't even care about it. Don't say that.
Hey, Radical.
What are you talking about, bro?
What I'm talking about is
those rallies.
Nobody
really knew about it. I hate to tell you
the
that,
plight
man.
that you're talking about that black
Nobody
people
really
have.
knew about those rallies,
Other
man.
people come out of nowhere talking about, oh, we got the same plight too. No, black people don't even care about reparations.
You know what's funny? Black people go hard for immigration, like go hard to protect immigrants, harder than Hispanics. I see far more Cuban and fucking Mexican Hispanics shitting on fucking immigrants that are trying to come into this country.
Thank you for being an ally. My point is...
No. I'm making your same argument. So what are you talking about?
Okay.
Hey, Radical, do you really think that reparations is actually a thing that you fight out in the streets or you actually go to the government and deal with?
I don't know. Secure the Tribe did a reparations rally and only 6 people showed up.
Nobody knows about Secure the Tribe. They're not
that's all I gotta say. I don't know.
They're not that big, and they didn't publicize it, and nobody knew they were doing anything anyway.
All I know is that American Cholo does not have the power to
it doesn't matter. You said name somebody who said it. I did. Now you're mad because I named somebody.
Hey, Radical.
Wait. What I do know is that black lady that worked for Congress, they even asked her, yo, you want reparations? She even laughed in your face. So that's the person y'all should really be targeting. I forgot her name. She got curly hair. I forgot her name. But
you see, that's part of the problem, though.
My thing is that who cares what American Cholo says? Look at what your representatives are saying. Because they're not your representative. They're in Congress, bro.
They're your
I get that, and they're a bunch of sellouts. Those people don't represent.
What are your representatives doing? Since you want to divide it,
listen. If y'all,
what is Marco Rubio doing?
I understand. I understand that black folks got so much power in voting. Utilize it. That's all I'm saying.
It doesn't matter if you vote in people who are sellouts.
Hold on, wait. Listen to what I'm saying.
Power and authority.
Utilize it with that power of voting, but if everybody is not on the same page, for example, getting reparations, only 6 people show up, and that's such a big deal right now because reparations is being talked about in a political scale. Only 6 people showed up, and y'all didn't even vote Marcel Dixon in a whole black community, and he was running on reparations. That tells me, as an outsider, saying y'all really don't really care about this.
Marcel Dixon was going up against a political machine.
This to me is all talking points.
You know that,
this is how I see it.
And he was a long shot candidate from the beginning.
This is how I see it from an outsider looking in.
Those specific districts that Marcel was running in, that's mostly people who are loyal to Clyburn anyway. They don't know. They don't do that whole well. Somebody pops up in there new.
Marcel Dixon got a lot of money behind him, bro.
Actually sabotaged. Like they did a lot to get Clyburn in.
Marcel Dixon got a lot of money behind him, bro.
Not a lot. No, he didn't get.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. I could show you. I could show you. He got
200,000.
He got 200,000, bro. You mean to tell me 200? He got way more money.
What's 200,000 compared to when you got millions?
No. He got way more money. His campaign.
You have name recognition. And you've been in Congress for decades.
200,000.
What's 200,000?
Way more than Clyburn. And they even showed it. He had way more money. And you mean to tell me he came in last place? Dude, come on now. Come on.
Name recognition.
Let's be honest.
He's been in position for decades. He's got a lot of old followers, and a lot of the new people have no idea who the hell Marcel Dixon was. And the dude he actually came into the race late. Like there's a lot of reasons that he lost, and that nobody really expected him to win. you know, but he did make a little bit of noise.
But my thing, this is my thing, and I understand.
You keep saying black people don't care about reparations because somebody didn't show up at a rally.
No,
the fight is not on the street; it's in Congress.
No, they don't.
At the government level,
black folks don't even care about reparations. They don't, because again, if they really do, all of these other things that I keep on bringing up would already been happening.
Yeah,
and right now, you know about HR 40, which is a study.
But let's be real. HR 40 is only in California, bro. Come on, like
no, HR 40 is a federal. It's a federal.
And it's still gonna.
No, that's at Congress. That's at the congressional level.
And this is what I think the con game is gonna be. The Democrats are gonna keep on dangling that reparations credit in your face, talking about we're still gonna study it, and it's gonna be for lineage, and we're gonna keep on working it out. We're gonna work it out. It's gonna keep on dangling in your face, and it's never going to come. That's how I see. I wish it did.
And that's why black men are not voting for them.
Oh, good. But
yeah, and that's what black men, more black men wholesale are saying, screw the Democrats, we're not voting for them. Do you see these ridiculous ads that are aiming at black men, and we're telling them to screw off? And I'm trying to be nice on
the Democrats are like brain dead. But I understand the point that Lord is making. I get it. But at the same time, bro, like saying that FBA's plight and then we're coming out of nowhere saying, nah, bro. They don't even have a political game plan, bro. All their shit is xenophobia.
But Rod,
it's not.
Yes, it is. Okay, wait. Hold on.
We have drifted so much from the topic.
Wait, Lord. Give me the political game plan that FBA has for reparations.
I don't know their political
That's
game
what I
plan
thought.
for reparations.
That's what I thought.
But you said their game plan is xenophobic. It's not xenophobic, bro.
That's what they are xenophobic.
Yo, I'm seeing more xenophobia from fucking Mexican and Cuban Hispanics against Hispanics. What are you talking about, man?
Oh, that we keep it in house.
All right,
you keep it in house. They do that shit to all other groups. Hispanics want to be white more than anything else. Don't play this.
We are supposed to be white already. We were supposed to be white.
No, not you. No, Mexicans.
No.
Mexicans. You're not Mexican. You're Puerto Rican.
God.
Get it right.
Again,
right?
racial ambiguous. When I can.
Mexican. Let me know when I can talk. Hispanicness. There's no flat Hispanicness, right? My plight as a Hispanic is not similar to my plight to a Mexican's plight, right? Or Cuban's plight. Everybody has different rhetorics based off of their proximity and their country's government relations to America, right? It is what it is. Your plight as a Hispanic is totally different from other Hispanics because you're American. You're Puerto Rican. You're American.
We got that point. Okay, go ahead. Answer that.
Thank you. So again, what I was saying, we were supposed to be the term Hispanic. I explained it on my latest. Rod, I explain it, and anybody that watches my streams know where the term Hispanic comes from. That erased the whiteness of Latinos, people from Spanish descent, which is where Puerto Ricans also come from. So basically, again, racially ambiguous people like myself were considered white in this country, unless you were actual completely black, you were considered a Black American or within the Negro community, and that is there's a lot of proof of that. Maria Africa, Dominican lady that was, I think, a shade darker than me, was still considered a white woman. Now, again, we were considered white because of our European heritage, not because I'm not saying that I want to be white. We're not saying that we want to be white. We want to observe all of our heritage. However, that's how the country saw us. We didn't make the rules. We just live in this country. So again, we have drifted so much from the topic at this point that we're still not trying to make points about who did who for who. And again, the whole concept of the immigration law, which is the topic, did not benefited Latinos because Latinos were already seen as produce in this country. That's basically the point of the radical produce.
Okay, yeah.
So produce. So again, produce. We get bought, basically. So in traded. So again, the whole concept of the cult trying to say that we created the immigration for you guys. We contribute. That's just propaganda, and it's out there, and it has been out there, just like the whole Hispanic concept has been out there. That we were, oh, look at the whole. We were segregated, and we had the Juan Crow and whatever. When there's overwhelming proof that we were living on the white sector, the majority of Latinos were living and profiting from their whiteness. So again, when are we going to start understanding that
Yeah,
we need to?
Is anybody really arguing that?
But let me. No, there's the problem
quick,
is
guys.
the problem is Kevin.
Stay in the back. Hold on, real
The
quick.
problem
Go
is
ahead, Denise. Go
the
ahead.
problem is, Kevin, that you're talking from, and this is the problem that I have when I talk to a lot of brothers and sisters, is that you talk about, because usually we talk with people that are extremely intelligent and well read. The thing is that you're talking from your perspective, but 9 times out of 10, that's not what we get. That's not what we get even in society. There's people that still don't know what a Puerto Rican is. There's still that people that don't know what a Dominican or Cuban or Mexican, where they're from, and what they have lived through. There's a lot of people that don't know these things. As a matter of fact, 89% of Americans don't even know where to point the different states of the country. What lets you know that they know these things? That this is a reality. So again, when we say, like, where are we getting these thoughts? We're getting these thoughts because of our interactions with people online and offline. We get interactions with people that don't even know. Even amongst Latinos, we don't know each other. So what makes you think that Americans know everybody else, or that we know every American? We don't. But what we do know is that all of us are here in the same circumstances because of the same group. And that is basically what we've been talking about. Instead of getting mad at other communities, start getting mad at the right people, because you can say, oh, we get cheated on. Let me tell you something, and I put it in the chat. MLK was not liked by Mexicans back then. He was not liked by white people. He was not liked by Western Europeans. He was not liked by anyone. Liked him. We liked him today because we like to use him, and a lot of people like to use him for propaganda. But MLK was not a well-liked person. He was a well-hated individual by everyone. Even people within the segregated Black community hated MLK and his vision. Now, did he got the job done? That's basically what we're saying right now. If you need more MLKs and less Tariq Nasheeds.
Yeah. So with that being said, guys, thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much for coming in. I hope this was educational. This was not to attack anybody. This was not to attack any individuals, but basically to attack a talking point and a rhetoric. That's basically what it is. So shout out to Denise. Denise, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you for
the
having me.
conversation is going to continue in the back. With that being said,